properties of data that combine together into 5 V's we call velocity, variety, volume, veracity, and value. These are the five main V's you should be familiar with if you're working on data, be it data engineer, data analyst, data scientist, data architect, or data managers, or anyone working on data. This is the part two of a multi-part video series on data concepts for data on cloud specifically. So in the part one, we looked at different type of data, structured, unstructured, and semi-structured, and we're going to build on top of this, which is five different V's. Now, if you missed that first part, make sure you watch. We'll be putting it into playlist here so that you build on top of that. And once this is done towards, and I'm going to, if you want to go deeper into these things, especially to become a good, better data, anyone working on data, be it data analyst, engineer, scientist, or data architect or data managers, then I'll invite you for a free class towards end as well. And then in the next subsequent parts, we are going to have more things coming, which I'll reveal again towards end what are you going to learn after this 5 V's as well. So let's go straight and learn 5 V's and why it's important and what you should be knowing about these 5 V's. So straight on 5 V's now.
Data properties. So in the first part, we discussed about what are the different types of data that you may be working in data engineering, or you may be collecting, or you may be taking some action on these types of data. Now, what are the important data properties? So here we have the concept of 5 V's. We can just classify the properties of our data with respect to this 5V concept. And somewhere, some of the notes, some of the books, some of the websites, you may see only 3V concept. Okay, so don't get confused. Both are the same things. Some of the platforms, they don't consider these two things. Okay, but don't get confused again. They are talking about the same thing about data properties. So let us try to understand what can be meaning of these 5V's. So 5V's consist of velocity, variety, volume, veracity, and value of your data. So let us start with the very easiest concept called as volume. So we can just replace this particular terminology or keyword volume with size. Okay. So in case you are working on any data, so please consider its size. Okay, because this can be one of the important factor to select any kind of, let us say, processor or process or specific type of tools or services to work on that type of data. We nowadays, let us take the example of a very widely used application, Netflix. Let's focus on volume of data. So if I ask you, like now today, if we talk about Netflix, so they have wide variety of content. Okay, so what can be the volume? Can you imagine what may be the size of their movie library? So this is how we need to think whenever we are working with data engineering. Like you may be working with a project that may be working with only 100, 200 MB of data. Okay, that can be important for that. Let us say you are working on a domain specific type of thing. I want to work on a geospatial type of application. So data can be very small. But when we talk about projects like Netflix, you may be working with petabytes of data, even exabytes of data. So you just focus on this particular thing, volume. What is the size of that data? Okay, so depending on this, you can just select other things to work on the data. Then velocity. Now, what exactly the velocity? So we can say speed of data. Speed means not exactly the data, speed of updates, speed of generation of new data, speed of uh, discarding your old data. Okay, whether your data is coming in a real time, whether your data is coming in near real time. So speed of data. So that is again one of the important factor, or we can say that can be one of the important properties of your data to decide what particular application you may want to use. Then variety we just studied, like your data can be structured, unstructured, semi-structured, or some of the application may be working with multiple types of data. Like nowadays we have application that sorry, for example, let us again take the example of amazon.com. So amazon.com, the application is having login format. So for login, you may be working with some kind of structured databases. But we already discussed that, like you may have a product table in which we cannot follow a structure. So at the same time, that particular website or web application may need some unstructured data approach. So variety may be there in different types of data. So that is again one of the important factor. Then when we say veracity, okay, so now this particular concept can be very helpful when you are working with your ML type of thing, machine learning type of thing, AI related things, or anything you want to predict. Okay. For example, you are working on a project that is basically taking the data from a data warehouse. Now, the question is very simple actually. If you are working on a faulty data, so will you, uh, means, is there any possibility to get the perfect output or required output? Yes. If input is not correct, can we get the required or desired output? So answer is obviously no, 100%. Like if your data, whatever data you are working on to get the result, let us say you may be working on some kind of data engineering project. Again, take the example of amazon.com only, that I want to suggest a particular product to my customer, like by identifying their history, by identifying the pattern they might have searched for a particular product, by identifying their behavior, interest in a particular product. So if we are not generating proper data, if we are data is not accountable, not trustworthy, definitely we cannot rely on that data. So this can be again one of the factor for specific type of use cases, not always we can say, but specific type of use cases in which we want to predict some further data. And similarly, what is your data value? Okay. So we can have some kind of statistical calculations to identify the future predictions, events, correlation between the current event and the previous event, history, we can say, logs, we can say, hypothetical data, if it is just generating some kind of prediction. So value is also important. So these two factors, it can be very, very helpful when you are working in some kind of machine learning model or AI model that may be learning from the previous data. So this is how 5V concept can help you to understand the data properties.
Hey there, if you like this video and want to go deeper and become an expert in AWS data engineer, whether you're already working into data or new to data and would like to take your career to the next level, I would like to invite you for a free class that I'm doing where we'll talk everything about data and data engineering services on AWS Cloud, be it S3 Lakehouse, or it could be Athena, Glue, Kinesis, Firehose, databases, RDS, all type of data. And we're going to talk everything about data, including why you should be learning. And I'm going to give you my 3-step framework to go from a complete beginner to getting certified and getting a higher paid job on cloud or in data engineering on cloud. So if you're interested, enter go to this URL k21academy.com/AWS data02, enter your name, email address, phone number, and click on register now. And I'll see you in the other side of this class. Well, that was 5 V's of data, which are very important for you to learn and understand. And let me know in the comment if you have any questions, you want to add something, if you missed anything, or what additional topics you want to see on this channel in this series on data on cloud. Now, next week, we are going to talk about the another most important thing, which is data warehouse versus a data lake versus a lake house. What how they started, what the history, which one is used, why, what are the difference between them, and what you should be learning. In fact, you should be learning all three of them, but which one is most important thing? You want to cover all this in the next week. So stay tuned and let me know if you need. With that, this is if you have any other question. With that, this is Atul from Team K21 Academy. I'll see you next week on another episode on this channel.